Welcome back. We're in the North Island of New Zealand and we're with a woman who became a world first. Georgina Beyer was the first transsexual to be elected as a Member of Parliament. Inevitably, her sexuality has shaped her whole life for better and for worse.
This is not a matter of choice. This is something that is compelling us and is within our psychology, our makeup genetically in that sense. Our physical doesn't happen to fit it. In our modern age, we're able to alter and change that. In other societies, take Indian for example, you have the heritages. The heritages are centuries old and part of the culture. And many ethnic cultures, even in the South Pacific, whawhawhine, takatapui for Māori, there has always been an instance of transgender in our culture.
I've been to the Pacific quite a lot, and as you say, you see a number of sort of transgender, transsexual people that are a part of the society. What I'm trying to understand, though, is that what I've heard this phrase, you know, a woman trapped in a man's body. I've heard that phrase several times, but I still don't quite understand what that feels like, or.
It's who I am. The feminine side of me, if you want to put it that way, is just far more dominant. It is what I am. I put it to you like this. Do you honestly think that people like us would choose, given our society, to put ourselves through this? This reaction? Of course not. No person, you know, this is not a fetish. This is not anything deviant at all. It is completely natural. And once more, it could be, if not you, then your uncle or your father or your brother or your sister or your uncle or anybody. Does that make that person, if it happened to you, any less in your eyes? You know, no, it shouldn't.
Now, I know this is dreadfully, dreadfully difficult territory, but I'm just trying to get a sense of how you felt about yourself. I mean, when you looked at your body, was there a male body? Was there a sense of real self-loathing then?
It had a practical purpose by which to pass urine, and that was about it. Had no pride in my male genitalia whatsoever, hated it. I would try to eradicate it as best I could before surgery was an option. And it meant little to me except unpleasantness. It wasn't right, and I couldn't carry on in life and fulfill myself relationship-wise. Still haven't been able to actually, but not because of that, more because of my career. And make me whole and complete and right. And then once I could have that taken care of, this is purely a personal thing in that sense. Once I had that taken care of, I could get on with the rest of my life. That's taken care of. Having a sex change, yes, was a life-changing experience, obviously, and it settled me down absolutely, and I was just completely comfortable with myself.
During our time together, she wanted me to see as much of her home and parliamentary constituency as possible. The whole area has been revitalised with freshly planted vineyards.
It's been a new and positive thing for this district, at least anyhow, and contributes to this wine trail we have down the east coast of the North Island, which extends also across to the South Island and Marlborough. This is new for us, and it's a wonderful addition to our economic development, and it's worked very well, and we produce damn good hooch.
You've obviously found acceptance, more than that here. I mean, you know, you were a very, very successful, very, very popular MP and politician. A lot of people watching this programme are going to be sort of taken aback by that, because there are many countries in the world where your story wouldn't be the slightest bit possible.
Really, of course, each jurisdiction has its own legal differences and social and religious differences.
I was going to say, I mean, you've obviously had great opposition here from some people. Overseas, in some countries, your very existence would be denied.
That's right. So doesn't my example make a mockery of that attitude?
Yes, yes.
You see, again, why dispose of perfectly good human resource in such a way? Why relegate it to the rubbish heap? It just doesn't make sense. I live in a country that I'm proud to say practices democracy in a true participatory way in modern times, that to be able to practice your right of a citizen regardless of who and what you are is something to be admired. And obviously, if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. I am but one example. We have had subsequent transsexuals elected into public office since my elections. Vladimir Luxuria was elected into the Prodi government of the Italian Parliament. Of course, now they only lasted about 18 months there, but she was elected. That was an achievement. She was the second transsexual in the world to be elected to public office at that level. And in Timor, I think the same has happened. There has been in local government around the world various other success stories as far as transsexual people are concerned.
All of that I totally accept and can see, but there are many countries in which your existence would be illegal, deemed to be immoral, homosexuality deemed to be immoral.
Take Iran, for example, where I think a sexual reassignment surgery is done on the public purse for transsexuals there, but two homosexual men having a relationship can be put to death. I mean, that's just horrendous and shouldn't be allowed to happen.
I'm trying to, if I can, to find the right word so I can ask this in the right way, because it must be an extraordinary position to be in if you are you, because there are some people, a lot of people in the world, who would almost deny your right to exist. How can you be sure that you're right and they're wrong?
You've got to pick on a minority, don't you? Somewhere in the world there are regimes that got to pick on those minorities for no good reason than they are considered scum of the earth. The reason Hitler did it. And I treat regimes that treat people like me or who are gender different or enjoy a different sexual orientation with no harm to anybody else as being of no particular threat at all. It's all in the minds of those who would see us wiped off the face of the earth. And I think they're more perverse than we ever were.
If I were making a list of my favourite capital cities, Wellington would certainly be on it. It may not have quite the buzz of a Bangkok or a New Delhi, but if the politics inside the beehive begin to bore, there is always the view. However, Georgina wanted a change. She's now resigned as an MP to rebuild her life once more amongst the people in her own hometown.
I seem to be good at what I do, but on a personal level, it's been devastating in lots of ways. You know, very few friends, certainly nothing in the way of romance or partnership or anything like that. I've become a famous transsexual. I arrive with a reputation and an aura of respect, yes, largely, but still, you know, I find that part of my life is I've let it go because of my public life. I've made my choices, I guess, and so I live with them. And I want to seize this time now that I've made a break from politics, at least for a little while to date, to just find myself again.
One thing you said about that nobody would choose to be a transsexual, and obviously you didn't choose that to be. How hard has it been to find happiness?
Well, happiness, gosh, I've had quite a lot of happiness, but I think it's balanced by not so happy times. Here I am, a member of Parliament, and I'm doing Dancing with the Stars, and the nation loves it, and the Prime Minister and everybody's involved, and there's you know, that kind of warm fuzzies. You know, I've had a lot of warm fuzzies. That's what we should call this happy thing, a lot of warm fuzzies. And I think it's a happy marriage that's happened between me and people.
Well, Georgina, you were a first in New Zealand, a first in the world, a remarkable story. Thank you so much for being on the programme. Thank you.
A privilege and a pleasure.
Thank you.
I've been glad to show you around our little piece of paradise.